Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on how to make your security awareness program fail. My name is Kaylee Melton, and I'm the Director of Digital Strategy at the Security Awareness Company. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with us, we're a one-stop security awareness shop for all the content you would ever need to educate and change the behavior of your end users. We're glad to have you join us today. Allow me to introduce Winn, the founder of the Security Awareness Company and noteworthy InfoSec professional. He's been shaking things up in this industry since 1983 and continues to use out-of-the-box thinking to help people understand security just a little bit better. He loves to tackle tough questions, so if any of you come up with one during this presentation, please send it to us through the Q&A feature on your screen. We will answer those questions at the end. So without further ado, I will now turn it over to Winn.
Thank you, Kaylee. I appreciate it. Thank everybody for being here either in real time today or in the future sometime when you play back the webinar at another time and convenience. As Kaylee said, I've been at this security thing for umpteen years, back since 1983. And for the last 23 or so, have had the honor of being able to work in the security awareness space and learn, as we all have over these last years, what is security awareness? How does it fit into the overall security plans and designs and goals of an organization? 20 years ago, security awareness could often just be a bare afterthought, and it has certainly evolved much more complex over the years. And so instead of trying to tell you, oh, here are all the great things that you can do, I wanted to really discuss the things that I have seen, and we as a company had seen in the last 25 years of doing security awareness, and what absolutely will help guarantee that you overspend your money, accomplish next to nothing, look really bad in the process, and ultimately make your entire program fail. The number of things that I have seen over the years would encompass several volumes, and I need to, in most cases, protect the names of the guilty. There are so many epic fails, and one of the ones that always begins the list is you've got to make sure that your security awareness program is boring. It has to be mind-numbingly boring to make sure that people do fall asleep, do not pay attention, and do not hear a word that you say. While this may seem counterintuitive, in the early days of security awareness, it was absolutely true because nobody at that point had a real clue at the enterprise level how to communicate or what to communicate to their users. One of the things that I have seen periodically and even recently, stop using so many graphics, they tell us. Why? Well, it eats up corporate resources. Well, that's a good thing. Let's not use the graphics in order to make sure that people have no way to really absorb the information. 20 years ago, people actually read a lot more paragraphs and words than they do today. In today's hyper-fast, multimedia, constant onslaught of information at us, we've had to develop new ways to be able to assimilate information, and using graphics, infographics, a combination of the two to make high-level points instead of using 100-word sentences, get the point across very, very quickly using this. However, it does take a little bit more bandwidth on your networks. And in the early days when network bandwidth was at a dear premium, one could maybe understand it, but today, absolutely no excuse. Security is a serious business. There is no room for humor in anything that we ever do in security awareness, because if you use humor, what's going to happen? People won't take it seriously. They're going to put a smile on their face. They're going to maybe think that you're kidding about it. On the other hand, when people are being exposed to new ideas that they may or may not agree with, what is the best way to break down their barriers? And that is through humor. So if you want your program to fail, follow the traditional old advice: no humor, have no fun whatsoever, and just tell folks what they need to do. Because all you need to do is teach policy and compliance. And I'm sure that many of you have heard the same words that I've heard over the years. Let's not worry about all the details. Just make sure that everybody knows what the policy is, what our compliance is, and make sure they do it. And that is the mantra that has been overused and finally becoming a lot less popular, because in the old days, it was really simple. Don't give away information. Don't do stupid things. Those were simple in the days, especially when we had very simple technologies that were not as interconnected as they are today, with all the paths and the mobility, and we never know where we are. The information may actually reside. Is it in the cloud? Is it in my server? Is it on my phone? Just teaching policy and compliance today is going to guarantee epic fail. This goes into the telling of what to do versus showing what to do. Back to the imagery. It is so much easier and more communicative to be able to show somebody a picture, an image, a short video, something dynamic in our multimedia world as an example versus using telling, hundreds and hundreds of words. The classic book writer problem, and why so many people write poor fiction, is they tell a story instead of being able to use words to show the story. And that is a combination of good wordsmithing and, with security awareness, using great visuals as well. Now, I've heard a lot of people in organizations to this day. I gave a speech the other day on this, and the keynote speaker from the organization was talking about awareness training. And I think that we need to absolutely make sure that if we're going to fail, we're going to confuse those two terms, because they are really very different things. For example, how do you cross the street? You look both ways. Is that training or is it awareness? Well, it's a little bit of a combination of the two that becomes an automatic awareness because of something we experienced over time. Our parents telling us, look both ways, wait for the light to turn green. Awareness in our world today can be as simple as noticing a suitcase that doesn't belong or looks odd, or a box in the lobby, or a large metal container with its wires exposed in a subway station. Just things that are different. That is awareness. And awareness, from our standpoint, is you and all of the users in your organization being aware of their behavior and the potential outcomes that could come, either good or bad. Training is much different. It's trying to teach somebody something very specific and have a measurable outcome. Another guaranteed failure is never make your security awareness program personal. Never make it about the users. Don't make it about their kids or their families or their friends. Why? Because security is only about business. It's a serious business. It's for our enterprise. It's going to protect us from lawsuits and from bad PR. From a personal standpoint, who cares? That's your problem. And that, unfortunately, is a prevalent view. In order to get your users to care and engage with the security awareness program, you really do need them to have stake in the game. They got to have some skin in there to be able to care enough about what you're trying to tell them as it affects them. If it doesn't affect the user by some emotional response about, oh my God, my kid, oh, my parents, oh, how am I going to keep them from being part of a bad botnet or part of a cyber attack or become a spam generator? The problems that we face in the organization are the same problems we face at home and on the road. The rules are very, very similar. The terminology, though, is going to be somewhat different. We're going to call stuff inside the enterprise policy-driven, compliance-driven, and all that, but the end game is the same, and you will engage your users by making it personal. Take your security awareness program and design it only for internal corporate use at your campuses. That's it. Ignore all of the users who live on mobile devices 24/7. The average mobile user today checks his or her mobile device, typically a phone, 82 times a day. That is called awareness. They are trying to be aware of their immediate surrounds, of their friends, and it becomes part of their automatic lives. If you want your program to fail, make sure that you have nothing to do with their mobile experience. Keep it away from them entirely. If you want it to succeed, Use mobile as your primary focus as the entire world is migrating towards smaller screens and bigger experiences at the same time. Another way to help make this fail is, I know that the CISO or the CTO or the president of your company, yeah, he took a film class in college, so he's an expert. So if he's an expert at this, why doesn't he run everything? Because he's the CISO. When you're doing production on anything creative, the fundamental rule is listen to a lot of opinions, but you got to have one decision maker. Let the producer and or the director do their job. When it comes to multimedia, there's a lot of opinions. When you look at a TV show, some people like it, some people hate it from a humor standpoint. Arriving at consensus through the production process by letting in a senior officer of the organization, senior management of the organization into the process will only skew it, it will delay it, it will cost more, and you'll end up with a watered down product. Make sure that you don't set a vision. Don't set goals or objectives for the entire program, because then people might know what you're actually trying to get them to do, that it's about behavior. Very, very simple. By setting a clear vision, not 52 points like you have in a policy or 300 points of procedures. A vision, 1, 2, or 3 very salient points that are easy to communicate in a very few words. That is mission number one when you're building a program. If you don't set one, what will happen is, we're going to launch a security awareness program tomorrow. Okay, send everybody a video, send them all a newsletter, and tell them to take this course. And where is the buy-in? Where is the cultural support? Why are we doing this? Without that, you're going to be guaranteed a fail, which ties directly back into seeing it over and over. Okay, we're going to do all this on Monday, we'll do all this on Tuesday, then we're going to give them a test on Thursday, we'll do the same thing the next week, and we're good. Starting huge is a guaranteed mechanism for failure as well. You got to plant a foundation. You don't build a house unless you've got a foundation that is hopefully strong on good earth that's not going to be shaking things up, which means that you're going to be getting the support from the board level, top management, and that you're going to start the program at a reasonable, manageable level so you can begin to test the waters, get the reactions, and make appropriate changes without having to do this massive, huge investment and then say, oops, we made a mistake and we now need to change everything. Let it grow organically, and it's going to take at least a year, because otherwise somebody in management is going to say, oops, we said the wrong word. Somebody got offended, and they're going to want to have an infinite number of changes made overnight, and you cannot do it. It will not work. Your system, the entire effort will break, which is why the proper planning ahead of time, setting the vision and the goals, is all about trying to get this done in that organic manner where management and users are all actually looking forward to participate in learning. If you run your program through CorpCom, you're going to run the danger of having it look exactly like everything else in your organization that people ignore. If that's your goal, let CorpCon run your awareness programs. If you're looking for something that is going to stand out, be different, have value for your audience, all the way from management to technical to the users down, and even the non-technical users who may be working in factories or not with computers on a daily basis. You need to reach them all. They're already ignoring your typically, no offense, boring corporate messages. You got to stand out. You got to provide value. CorpCom, yeah, maybe they can give you the copyright police of laws about which colors and which fonts to use, but be very careful of them encroaching too much into your program. For those of you that don't know the rule of three, sex, drugs, rock and roll, it's a natural cadence of communication that is part of the human experience. The three-act play, movies are done that way as well. Books are always structured in threes. The strongest physical geometric shape is a triangle. In the physical world, it's the tetrahedron. Everything based upon threes. The human mind cannot learn 14 of your rules tomorrow, but done correctly, it can do 3. The prefix to an area code, 3 digits. The prefix to a local phone number before long distance existed, 3. When we think of the cadence of jokes, of humor, of communication, when we read, the phrasing of bump, ba-dum, ba-dum is a natural cadence that makes the body and the neurons in the brain respond favorably. So if you want unfavorable neural response on your user's part, don't use the rule of 3. Which then brings us to, wait a minute, if we got the rule of 3 here, taxonomy, what is that? How am I going to teach the periodic table? My God, there's 115 or 118 elements in it. What do I do? What happens is we decide, let's not use triads, because triads are all about the rule of 3. The conventional one that we all grew up on was CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But then over the years, we got to introduce a number of new triads, like the domains triad in the lower left. We live in 3 domains. We live in our physical domain. We are human beings with human neural brain things going on, and we're trying to tie all this together to the cyber world. No security issue is exclusively within one or the other. If you have physical locks on the door to the data center, you're trying to protect your data assets through a physical protection mechanism, which may then have a biometric control for access to the physical by a human being. So these are overlapping concepts in a triad that work anywhere in your organization, or in the triad over to the right on the bottom. We call it the many lives triad. Personal, professional, and mobile. It's not back to Leave It to Beaver the days where Ward got in the car, left home, went to work, did his job, came home. In the middle, all he did was maybe listen to an AM radio. But with mobile, everything has changed. We overlap. We overlap our mobile and personal and professional lives every single day of the week, and in some cases up to 82 or more. When you look around in any city or any office environment, how many people have their faces stuck into mobile, which overlay the other 2? So thinking of security awareness and training with these 3 lives, these 3 domains, with the basics of keeping secrets a secret, making sure things are accurate, and making sure you can do your job in the CIA triad, things start, for the users, for your audience, start getting simpler. The 3 target audiences that we've got in any group are your executives, your technical guys, and your users. The users are going to have various levels of skills or requirements to be used on a computer. If you're at Home Depot, you see the gentlemen and the ladies that are doing inventory with some sort of mobile tech computing device of some sort. So they have to have some knowledge, some piece of the awareness. It's going to be different than it is for the techs, different than it is for your day-to-day users that are sitting at computers, which is why the security awareness efforts that you do need to be appropriately tailored for these audiences. And another example that works definitely in the United States, does not necessarily work everywhere, is the top one, how to do passwords, symbols, numbers, and letters, SNL. That's a 43-year-old icon TV show in the U.S. Does it work everywhere? Maybe not. But the use of triads, make up your own, use these concepts as you're building your security awareness programs. Hiring an English major and parsing every single word is another guaranteed way for you to spend a lot of money, make the project delay forever, water it down, and ultimately not get any value for it. Because, should you ever use casual language? Why? Because it communicates. People understand casual, non-overbearing types of communication, especially for things that they might feel a little ashamed that they don't know more technically. And so whether it's computer phobia or that kind of worry about, I really should know that stuff and I can't admit that I don't know it, by using casual language and a key mantra as well, which is, if you don't know, just ask. There's no bad questions. We're here to help you. And this has got to be done not through highfalutin language, but through casual one-to-one communication. And when you're taking awareness into that edge of training, the training might be something as simple as, here are the 5 steps you need to be able to take to help determine if an email is phishing or not. Well, you can do it very, very easily in graphics and pictures and casual spoken language, or some people argue it has to be the same way that you went through taking your MBA, the formal, structured way of learning, passing the tests, and all of that. Is that needed in our world? And we argue, and have argued for 25 years, no, because it doesn't communicate, it gives people bad memories, and it puts their psychological barriers up against everything that you're trying to do. Then you have to consider goldfish. Goldfish have an average attention span of about 8.3 seconds. Well, what does that say about us? It says that what we're doing in the security awareness field has to, more than ever, stand out, be different, be attention-getting. In the old days, when we had lots and lots of magazines, instead of doing everything as pure e-zines online, the advertisers typically budgeted about 2 seconds per user while they're flipping through a magazine in order to capture their attention to be able to sit and read the ad of whatever it is they're trying to sell. We're facing the same thing today, except not in a static world. We're facing it in this multimedia hyper world of everything coming at us at once. And we have to keep in mind that in many ways, we are the goldfish. Which brings it up, if you continue ignoring the science of learning, we will accomplish nothing. The neuroscience education that we've had since the year 2000 after the Human Genome Project, and understanding and being able to, with the new technologies, examine exactly what's going on, not exactly, but close to examining the behavior of the brain under certain conditions, we know that micro-learning is much more successful than macro-learning, partially because of the goldfish rule, partially because of attention span, partially because of the culture within the organization. We also know that gamification works. People like to be competitive, fun competitive, for some nominal amount of payoff, whether it is bragging rights on a leaderboard or a $25 Amazon card. Gamification is something that is innately part of being a human being. And if you don't want to engage your users, then don't use the new sciences of learning that are built into the better and the best security awareness materials and programs that have to be initiated and managed by the organization itself. But games are pretty useless, aren't they? Unfortunately, too many people think that doing something like this at an office environment is taking away from their productivity, what they're there for, their real job. They should be playing games on their own time. However, when done correctly, it's addiction. Gaming is an addiction, and we would like more people to become a little bit addicted to security awareness gamification for the reason it's very simple. It sticks. Also, make sure that you will fail if you never listen to your customers. Your customers are your executives, your IT, and your users, who are part and parcel of this program that you're going to be putting together. If you don't listen to them, you will fail. You should actively always ask them, hey, what new stuff are you interested in? And if 81% of your audience says, we want to learn about blockchain, teach them some stuff about blockchain. They're not trying to be uber cryptologists, but they'd certainly maybe like to know a little bit more about it. Or there was a major security hack, and the media is not doing a great job of explaining it. Ask your users what they want to know more about. It might be business-oriented, it might be mobile-oriented, it might be for home, it might be for the kids. If you don't ask, you don't know. And the best way you're going to succeed is by doing the feedback and taking your audience's rating. Phishing is 91% of the preemptive action taken in APT attacks today. Yet an awful lot of security awareness programs are very, very static. They don't take advantage of behavioral reactions. Because I can train you all day, and on a piece of paper, you'll say, yep, I'll take it. Column A, column B, 1, 2, 3, pick all the answers right. But what happens in a real life situation? Will you report that suitcase that you see that you don't think should be there, or the unlabeled box sitting on a seat on a subway or a bus or an airplane? Noticing these things also means reporting these things. How do we test for that? That is tested through phishing simulation. Many organizations do their own through either open source or home-built phishing simulations. Others use phishing companies to do it. There's an awful lot of different mechanisms by which it can be done. You can grow your own, do them, or hire them completely out. These are part and parcel of tying together your awareness and the behavioral reactions, because ultimately the goal is to change behavior. And then some people say, well, we need to test everybody and make sure that they've all passed. Well, this kind of gets interesting with schools today, kids. If my kid gets a 95 and an A, and your kid gets a 94, but that's a B, is my kid really an A versus yours is just a B? Is that real, that binary value real? Well, testing is supposed to give us a trending indication, especially in an audience which is going to be as disparate as it is in many organizations, different backgrounds, different cultures, different educations, different levels of expertise, different ways and speeds in which they learn and absorb information. Ultimately, when you're doing testing, you can assign a binary value, and everybody who doesn't get over 80% gets their knuckles wrapped and they have to go take remedial training. Sure, some cultures permit that. Or you do it in the background quietly with them and offer something so it is not exposed, and they can play with the gamification and build up more points, more confidence, and come back around, repeat. But ultimately, what you're looking for is that upward trend. You're never going to reach 100% with 100% of your audience. Never going to happen. But by trending upwards, we'll tell you, especially with new hires and retention of employees and then getting new folks in and the growth, you are always going to have to keep that trending line moving up. Some people think you ought to make your security awareness super, super, super technical. Why? Well, that would save costs on help desk. Everybody can fix their own machines. They can patch their own machines. And ultimately, without getting down too far in that rabbit hole, the argument really should be, in my opinion, you don't want your users to be security experts. You want your users to know when to call the security experts. And that is up to the security awareness program, is to be able to teach triggers. And this is the same thing we've always done in the physical world. See something, say something. In the cyber world, exactly the same thing. And how that is done is going to be up to your organization with policy procedures baked into your security awareness program, so it becomes just as natural as dialing 911. I get back and forth on on this, because I've seen so many organizations say, no, we're doing fine. Let's give it another year. No, but you really need to change this. There's something wrong here. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And that is a reluctance to change. When you're doing an awareness program, when you're doing anything that involves a large audience, you've got the boredom factor. You have all the psychological factors of the audience. When people smell the same odor for too long, they become desensitized to it. When people see the same commercial too many times, they become desensitized to it. Same thing with security awareness program. You're going to have to keep changing it up. Regardless who's in charge of it and all of that, you're going to have to change it up and make it look different. You're going to need to break some rules if you want to get through to people's psyches and become part of their zeitgeist, which should be part of the corporate zeitgeist, and that is where the vision returns. Designed by committee. If you remember any of these products, well, they were all complete and total failures. The one on the lower left, we'll just leave that alone. But from a technical level, these were all failures because they were designed by committee. Ultimately, the design of anything awesome or anything stupendously bad can often be put at one or two single individuals or small groups that have a vision and are willing and have been given the empowerment to enable it. If you design by committee, the odds of you failing in order to satisfy what everybody wants, because everybody's going to want something a little bit different, and they're going to want add a little of their color and a little of their flavor. Back to the earlier comment, one or two leaders at the top that make all the decisions, listen to the input, create the vision, and create that feedback loop with your audience to make sure that the messaging is resonating with your audience. Not until very recently, folks didn't even have awareness portals. Well, how do we deliver stuff? We'll email it out to them. In distinction to building a true resource center. A resource center says, well, if you don't watch this video now, or you don't read this article now, or you don't take this course now, or whatever game you may be playing, if you don't do it right now, it's going to get disappeared off into, I'm busy doing something else. Creating an awareness portal provides all of these kinds of features in one specific location that should be somewhere in your intranet or third-party hosted, so it ties in and becomes an integral part of the way that you deliver and interact with your customers internally. Make sure the execs, they don't need security awareness. Keep that in mind at all times. After all, they wrote the policy. They're the ones on the hook in order to make sure compliance works. And besides, they're too busy to take part in any security awareness programs. Your IT and technical staff, same argument they're going to make. Well, we're making all this stuff work. We're the guys that are programming it. We're the ones keeping in business. Don't waste our time with security awareness. Your choice. Are they part of the company or are they not part of the company? When you look at the geeks, there are just as many problems there as there are with executives, as there are with your normal users. Security awareness is job independent. Giving threats and orders, I've seen companies saying, if you do not follow policy, you're fired. If you use a bad password, you're fired. We're going to track all of your passwords. We're going to monitor all of your communications. And they build this incredibly oppressive culture and environment around the users because they think that's good security. Well, that may have been good in the Soviet era in certain places. Today, with the mobility, many-to-many communications, the surface of the planet has changed. The communications has changed very quickly, and word gets around pretty darn quickly based upon the kind of culture that you have within your organization. So if you want to help fail, again, threats and orders are great, and ultimately, you only need to do this once a year. Everybody will show up. They'll get their little trinkets from security vendor A, security vendor B. They'll read a piece of paper. They'll watch a 45-minute video of some sort while they're playing solitaire on the phone. They're going to check the box that they went, and now they're security aware for the next year. If that's what you're thinking about, you're not thinking about a security awareness program, which is something that is a dynamic, iterative, breathing component of the very culture that's going to help sustain the IT within your organization. So what can you do now? This is not a sales pitch at all, but we got a whole bunch of stuff that is available for free, just massive amounts of stuff. Come on down. When you look at security awareness program management, where do you begin? Well, this is a simple, take a look, some points of how to get started. What are the things that you need to think about to get from point A to point B, to avoid some of those 25 mistakes I was just pointing out to you. And again, these are done in non-salesy ways. These are just really internal focuses for you to ask the questions of yourself. Case studies. Case studies will give you some clues. They'll give you a few aha moments as to, wow, this worked over here, but that was in healthcare. I wonder if that would work over in my manufacturing. Well, take a look, and there's an awful lot of resources here for you to be able to take advantage of. If you have an exceedingly low budget and maybe zero, which is in the case of many small companies, take the newsletters, take away, and some of our older materials, but they'll give you something to be able to do something at least for your existing organization, even though it may not be the best, it may not be the Rolls Royce of today, but it'll be something that you can do. Cheat sheets. One of the best places to put these cheat sheets, which typically are on very, very specific topics, put them on the back of bathroom stalls. 2 words, captive audience. Your call from there. When we talked about the triads, how do you coordinate? Well, I can't do everything at once. Exactly. You cannot go too big. Where do you want to start? Well, pick a couple of issues that you think are interesting, that you want to address, that may be low-hanging fruit within your organization, and use this triad-based chart to see the kinds of things that you need to be able to talk about. Phishing doesn't stand alone as a human element. It's also technical. Door locks and biometrics, they don't stand alone. How do they integrate, and what are the associated pieces that you might want to address with them? So feel free to use this chart, and all these materials are yours. You can contact Kaylee or anybody there for this. We love Security Cat, and Security Cat is just take Security Cat stuff, have fun with it. That's all it's meant for, unless you want to not follow slide 11, which says never use humor. So these are all free things for you to take, and we'll help you pick and choose. This was a fun book that began sort of for kids, and then organizations like it. It's a PDF. Print out as many as you'd like, no problem. And so we've got the games, and there's a number of them that are available for free as well. Videos. Some of the things that are fun, if you remember what we call the Stalker song by Sting, I'll Be Stalking You. We took some songs, we're headquartered in Nashville, and that way we were able to get into the studio and have some fun redoing some traditional famous songs with some very security relevant themes. So have some fun with those. And ultimately the answer to this entire thing is you got to have some fun with this. It's an advertising and marketing program. And if it's a boring advertising and marketing program, you're going to get 0 results. If you have fun, you shake it up, you listen to folks, you make it personal, you take a few of the hints we're talking about, and your success is on the way. It will begin. It will not be perfect on day 1. It won't be perfect in 10 years. You want to trend up. You want to keep having fun. You want your audiences to be engaged, and you want to be able to measure some level of trending success. So on that note, I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and thank you all for being here.
So far, no one has asked any questions, but I'll give it just a few minutes, just in case anyone wants to do that. One attendee complimented your presentation, said, "Great presentation."
Wow. Well, thank you very much.
Can you go back to the slide listing the free resources?
Oh, I believe, okay. Are they talking about a specific slide, or?
Yeah, I think you showed the freebie area or something.
Huh.
Ashley responded
Yeah.
to him.
I don't think I did there, but let me take a look.
For anyone
there were several slides of them, of the freebies.
Yeah. There was another URL on it besides the stack one.
Oh, okay. Somewhere in here.
While you're finding it, someone asked where they can find the recorded version of this webinar. We'll be posting that on YouTube and sending the link out to all attendees, including those who were not able to join us live today.
Yeah, there it is. It's free, thesecurityawarenesscompany.com. And just so everybody knows, they are all under Creative Commons, which means have fun with them. Do what you want.
Okay. I believe that's all the questions.
All right. Well, thank you all again very much. And if we ever can do anything, just let us know.